for the money because they're not getting paid a cent. And so that's real public service at work for you and for us, for our administration. So I'm going to stop talking and sit down and listen. And again, thank you so much. Okay, let's lay just a couple of ground rules. We can discuss anything dealing with public safety as the mayor laid out. Let's just, I think everybody's here as an adult. If you got concerns, let's just do those in a respectful manner. We won't be answering any questions tonight. We're going to take note of anything that you have tonight, and we'll go back as a committee and try to address those as a committee and make some recommendations to the mayor. So at this point, we'll go ahead and start on the floor. If you got any questions, concerns, you can just either walk up here or Dominique can come to you. Just raise your hand and we'll get started. Somebody's always got to be the first one. How about this while you're thinking? Let's recognize any of our, I see the fire chief here and I see chief of police here. Welcome. We got any elected officials? I see Ms. Holcomb back there. Stand up, just wave everybody, Mr. Lockett. Mr. City. Better late than never, lady. And that fireman time at 24 hours shift. No questions, no concerns. This is your time to bring anything to the table. Nobody's coming. Or Joyce. Joyce, you know I got a message for you. Street department, our street lights. It is so important that we have proper street lighting and that when they are out, that they are marked and replaced. So street lighting is very crucial to public safety. Thank you. I think that, I said I wasn't going to answer anything, but I didn't know that some things being worked on with that. Now, let me just ask, firemen, are you happy with your pay? I'm not trying to deflect. Yes, stand up here and talk about that. The conversation, that's going to be a whole nother, that's going to jump all the way around. On the street lights, a lot of people don't know that there was previously, and I forget under whose administration, a public safety tax that became a forever tax that is still collected to this day. And the street lights, that money used to go to the street department. And then help me, Councilman Lockett, I'm not sure if it goes now to the general fund, and I believe that initially the street lights was something that was under the purview of the police department, and then it became under the street department. And over those years, our capacity in terms of the number of people employed as well as the actual budget of the street department has been pretty well cut in half in that time. So when you look at capacity, number one, and also look at how those dollars are specifically required to be directed, those dollars don't automatically specifically go to lighting, number one, and number two, the street department doesn't have the capacity to address that. But the other piece, as being the only entity that does, and then the other piece is Entergy now has an app that I don't know is very well advertise, and I mean by the city and by entity, the people who, if you use your app and you see a street light, you can identify it and report that it's not working, but people don't know that. And so that has to do with how we manage our own communications in the community, as well as working with entity to make sure that those lights that we do have get done. And then finally, um, there are lights that are better illuminated, the LED lights, and as they may replace the old lights, if the old lights stop working, that is done not at a cost to the city, but if we were to go in and say, hey, we want all these lights replaced and we have to pay for it ourselves, and there might be a way for us to do that. I met with someone last week, a couple of people. I met with really three firms who do different things along those lines. So we are working on it, but it's expensive. It will be time consuming, but it will get done. I really can't right now because the only way I will say that we can address street markings is right now. I know people can go in and call entities and they can put something on it. They'll say you can mark the lamp. And I don't know that that's efficient or something that should be expected of citizens per se. Like I said, the street department doesn't necessarily have the capacity or the systems in place to do that, and that's something we're working on as far as potholes and street lights and all of that. Just having a system of communication to prioritize the complaints. Um, but aside from that, I think that there are some other ways that we can do that, and we are trying to work on, number one, creating an internal system, um, and then figuring out how we pay for what we want to get done now. I know it was passed as a streetlight tax, but it is not specifically set aside. It is a part of the broader budget, is my understanding. I've had a couple of conversations about it. And because it is a forever tax, it's just part of now our sales tax, if I'm correct. And Councilman Lockett may be able to better answer it, but I don't know.
Yes, I believe about 30 years ago we passed the public safety tax, and some of that went towards street lights. But the problem we have is the taxes in Pine Bluff and Jefferson County is with declining population. The tax doesn't do as much the more people use and the less the tax do. So I think the problem kind of remains is that because of the declining population, many things that the public safety tax set out to do it could no longer continue to do. So that's the problem with taxes. The more taxes that you put on people here in Pine Bluff, in 20, 20 years, you have to redo the tax because it doesn't produce as much. The population continues to decline. So that's one of the things. And the street department, their biggest role with street lights was reporting the lights to energy. They were not responsible for changing the bulbs or anything of that nature. So mostly what they would do is what we call the street department and say a light was out, and then they would call energy or the mayor's office to report that it would need to be replaced. Now then energy calls a contractor, and the contractor replaces the light. So it's a process that one engineer calls another engineer, they call another engineer. Eventually you should get your light replaced because the city of Pine Bluff pays the same. We pay the same amount of money for a light that's out as we do to get one that's burning because the same amount of electricity goes through that light. So it's very important that we report them. Now the problem we have with street lights, they want you to uh, get the number that is attached to the light. That's the problem I've always had is the light is out at night. And then it's hard to see the decal that has the number on it to report it. And usually by the time the sun comes up, your mind is on something else. But process that, one has to report the light to the street department or the mayor's office, and they'll report it to energy distribution.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joyce Brown. I'm a volunteer with the Community Watch Association affiliated here in the city of Pine Bluff. I'm with the Central Park community area. And I'm just gonna put a charge out to everyone to get involved with your Community Watch group. There's a mass of information that's available there, like he's speaking about the street department, I mean, and the lighting, and I've never had to go through a lighting and get a number. I've heard that. I've never had to do it. Work with my community watch group, I give the number to everything. They have a number to call for street lights. I call that number, give them my information, tell them what address it is, what time somebody can be around, and they say, well, then they give me the date that they will come out. So when you affiliated with your community watch group in your area, lift them up, participate, get involved, because there's a wealth of information that's available. I make all kinds of information like that available to my group. All you have to do is call that NG's number. A lot of times I call it for my neighborhood. And they come right out in a time when they make an appointment, they're gonna be a Friday noon on such and such a date, they're there. Same thing with the inspection department. Instead of you calling all these people, get with your watch group, be involved in your community. And one person can make these calls and report everything that's in your area, in your group area, if you participate. Come and be attentive and voice your concerns, and we will get the information to the party that we need to got to. But we need to pay you, we need to get involved, and if you listen like what I said, a lot of people moving away. In my area, we get a lot of people move away. I elected to stay. I couldn't move away. But I elected to stay, try to keep my community strong. Because if all the strong members leave and go away, then what have you got left? Nobody there to set an example, growing up, there was always some strong person in that community who can look out for the community. So our strong people need to be involved, remain involved.
happened to be, the prosecuting attorney, and I had asked this question, and I had said, about putting a high bond on that gun, and, he had said that, you can't use a high bond as a security for, for the gun, but at some point in time, I think, at some point, we gotta try to, there gotta be an effort to get the guns off the street. I don't know, and I'm not law enforcement, but somewhere it's gotta be an effort to where we address these guns. Cause I see the guns, I'm out in the community on a daily basis, I see them with the guns. At some point, we got to, come up with some kind of solution to address, these citizens that's toting the guns, I mean, there's nothing, to deteriorate them from toting their guns. So how do we do that? How do we do that? It's a conscious decision to tote that gun, whereas just, I can't imagine that I got to go get up and go somewhere where I got to put a gun on me to go anywhere. But that's my concern is about, the guns, the street and all. But
We might in church. I guess let me answer a question so it can be more clarity to the people. Are we asking them for questions or concerns that they may have or suggestions that they may have that they want the public service umbrella to change or anything that they have, or are we asking them for stuff that's out there in the community that they want to change so they know what to answer?
That's what I was gonna say, all of the time. As long as it deals with public safety, it's fair game, that's what we're for. Mayor, what are you thinking you wanna come address? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, we had somebody, okay?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shamia Howe. So my husband may be nice, so I guess I won't say my first part. So I'll just go with, one, I know we need to think about the salaries of our fire department and our police department. We need to definitely think about that because most people come here and use this as a training ground and go somewhere else to get the best. So I know that's the one thing that's for sure. If it's not on the radar, it needs to be, and it needs to be done pretty quick for us to keep quality people here in those positions. The next thing, when he's talking about the guns and our kids with these guns, we got to first think about those parents. What are those parents doing to or for those kids? Because we got a lot of kids raising kids. So when you think about the kids that's raising the kids, what are those kids doing? What did they learn? What can we offer them to help them with raising your kids? So you got to start with that also. So what can we offer them? And then when we offer it, we got to entice them to come to it. Because, we offer a lot of stuff here in town. We got a lot of programs. But are the right people coming to those programs? The ones that you want to reach? And the ones who, so that's where we as citizens you got to come out your comfort zone and got to go say, hey, come on, go with me. Let me help you. Let me take you here or there. But you can't be afraid for that to happen. You can't be afraid. Yeah, we got kids running around with them, but do you know those kids? Do you know their parents? Sometimes if you know the parent of a child that's running around, then they're more apt to say, okay, well, hold on, my grandma, or, my great-grandma. So we got to think about those things when you start to think about the dealing with our kids more so in the public.
intervention program, which the police department is already doing. But we have a youth group violence intervention group. We had a meeting with all the school officials. We have a list that the school has provided to us, the form. So we are reaching back out to the school, well, to the parents of those students that the school has referred. They're not in the system, but we're trying to reach them before they get into the system. So we're working on that as an umbrella of the GBI that the police department already have. So we're hoping that that'd be a good program for them. We are planning other activities for them as well, to meet with the parents, to meet with the youth, and activities within the community that we're collaborating with the police department. So hopefully that will deter some of that.
To me, that's another one of those situations where what's in our backyard, we know what we have in our backyard. That we need to push and work with.
Okay, one, when it comes to the police officers, we definitely know that they need more money. We don't identify them. But we also understand that part of the issue is not just the salaries, it's also about the quality of life and the quality of education and the negative publicity that we keep getting, and sometimes coming from out of the mouths of our own citizens. So there's some things that we can do as individuals that can help turn some things around in regards to that. Also, I spoke to the mayor, when we were at a meeting in reference to, we used to, when I was under Debbie's administration, we got together and we had, compiled things that we can, that the youth, activities and things that the youth didn't even know about, parents didn't even know about. And then we were able to put that on the website, and we had pamphlets that we could give out. So I keep saying this over and over, and I'm hoping someone will hear me. I have some people that will help me go door to door to do what we do when we go campaigning. I just need the help in compiling the information that I know is out there in reference to services that can help our youth, services that can help our adults that they just don't know. Hear me out. Everybody ain't on social media. Everybody is not listening to the radio, because I'm one. Somebody have to tell me to turn on the radio or go here or go there, because I'm not listening. So we're going to have to do all of the above: social media, word of mouth, knock on door to door to let people know of the services and things that we have here that can help our citizens that they just don't know that's here. Because we're always hearing, but there's nothing for the kids to do. Well, there's plenty of things that I see that the kids can do, but the parents just don't know. And then when I start telling them, well, do you know this is going on at our downtown at the Arts Society? Do you know this is going on at the library? Do you know this is going on? They don't know. And so if we can just let's go. But we also need the help of the community. So we have to have you all tell us some of the things that you have going on. We had churches, we had organizations, we had business, we had everybody come to the table and sit and tell us the things that they had going on that was free and that was of low cost for youth, young adults, and even teenagers. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
I know you said that you're not going to answer any questions, but it's hard to sit here and not ask a question. So my thing is, can you give us some insight as to what this committee is going to do? What is the purpose? Because that might help us with what it is that the community needs to do. So what are y'all doing? What do you have in place?
Well, when we started this, Mayor Flowers basically gave us an outline of things that she wanted us to look at. If you remember when she campaigned, youth was in one of her top 3 things. Public safety was another, and I think economic development was the 3rd. We are taking that with public safety and specifically, there's so much, I mean, we've met hours and hours and hours, and we're still working on things. But we are addressing a lot of, what I'm hearing, a lot of this is being addressed.
I'll come to the staff and answer it too. I guess I should have opened up this a little bit. So we have a transition board that we announced along when we first got started. Where we pull community leaders in to help us make this transition. And from there, we looked at 10 areas and created committees along those lines, and then opened up a process for people to sign up to serve on those committees, and that's who you see here, some of them you see here. And they have not only met to do some of this, just in the context of the committee, but also have requested data. So for every committee, we have appointed a city personnel to sort of serve as a resource for that committee. So if they ask for data, and obviously for public safety, they're gonna ask for data from the police department, from the fire department, and Navy Street, and I don't know who else they've been asking from. Because the idea is for them to, in this pretty short span of time, to not only share ideas, identify challenges, promote ideas about what we could be doing, some things we ought not be doing, whatever. To combine all of that in a report where each committee will have made specific recommendations for us to adopt as a part of our plan. I mean, there are a lot of things that we've already started, a lot of the things that we intend to do in the short and long term, but, we don't know everything, right? And so, and we don't wanna be in a situation where we are, a year down the line or 2 years in, and there's like, why haven't you done A, B, and C? Because when we don't wanna say, well, I didn't know. We will not be able to say, I didn't know. We can say, we met with the people, we brought together leaders, we had town hall meetings, some of the committees are doing surveys, some of them are doing focus groups, but really reaching out to the community to ensure that we're not, that people are being heard, that we're not missing anything. So as best we can incorporate all of that into our plan, or at least be able to say, this is what you said you wanted, we're already doing it. Or we're doing it to the best of our ability, but we've lost half of our funding over the years because of A, B, and C. But if we are able to do this over here, then we'll be able to do that, but this is what it's gonna take. So that is, it's really planning and kind of designing our strategy about how to move forward together.
Okay, Nikki, I'm glad you spoke on that, because my thought to that was, are we meeting
amen, and, you know, we are 60-some odd days in, and you mentioned we need a plan. We have so many plans. There are so many plans. We paid for a master plan. We have other plans, other things that are on the books from other mayors, and then you come in and I'll tell you this, I mean, some of my own personal frustration coming in, and I'm gonna say this publicly, I'm grateful to former Mayor Washington because she made a commitment and kept that commitment about ensuring a smooth transition as best possible. However, and this is not on her, because we can look at previous administrations, there is no process for onboarding most anybody in city government, including and especially the mayor. I can't speak to other elected officials, and I'm not sure, for example, what the clerk's experience was when she came in. There are no written standard operating procedures for any department that I've seen. Maybe, probably for police. Actually, I've received something about some things that are in writing and they have to be. But when you talk about what do we do if there's a storm, what happens, just as an example of something that I confronted, who is responsible when it comes to, you know, how we address the streets? Because that's a public safety issue and it's a street department issue. What do we do when one of our pieces of equipment isn't working and we still have to remove ice? And then we have protocols in place for procurement and contracts, and we gotta find somebody else to help us. If you've never done any of this before, and I don't care how much experience you've had anyplace else, you've not done it, you need to be able to open up something and say, okay, this is what we did last time. And while we made it, and there are people we could call, and thank God, you know, we have a city councilman who formerly worked in the mayor's office we could reach out to, or who called us. We have city council members who have been working for a long time, who sit down and talk with us and say, okay, well, this is how we need to approach this, because nothing disappears, right? There's a process for everything, and it's often way more involved and arduous than you could ever imagine. And if you don't have standard operating procedures and updated handbooks for employees and things like that, it just makes it very difficult to move forward with a plan, because it all has to start with the people who work every day in this city to make the city run properly, including our fire department, our police department, and, you know, paramedics who are private, and then our street department. It's a lot of moving parts that really do need to work together. But to your point about these meetings have to take place so we can know how we start from all this information that we don't
department is saving grace, everybody knows that. And the police department is looked at on the bad end of the stick, because when you call the police department, they got to do something. Something was wrong and they got to do something. So everybody looks at the police department in a negative light. But then you call the fire department and they're the angels, because they're coming to save you. But they do the same thing. But if we don't learn to respect them as adults and stop criticizing them, our kids won't do it either. So if we as adults can start respecting those under the public safety realm, maybe the others under us will respect them as well.
I wanted to, Lori Long, Community Development. I wanted to respond to your inquiry about what can we do about creating a talent pipeline for public safety personnel. The state of Arkansas has an approved CTE program through a technical education program that can help prepare students. We don't have it here in Jefferson County, but it is eligible and approved by the state, so we just have to institute something like that in our place.
Nothing else? I'm still thinking, anybody wondering?
Somebody online made a comment about, are there any programs, I guess this is to be duly noted, but somebody made a comment about, are there any programs or anything in reference to conflict resolution? Somebody else online asked a question about bridging the gap between the city government and the communities. So there are no slips in critical information in the community computer.
What you just read is what I always tell Shannon. I said, I don't think that the public actually knows what it takes to get things done in city government. I don't think they know the time that it takes for things to get done. Because like you said, they want to see something done now. And I used to be totally blind on that. To go through this, why we're requesting this or that. You know, because I'm the fire chief's wife, I just get a chance to know that, you know, they place order for a truck. And it takes what, 2 years, 3 years almost before you get the truck. So that means you got that long to raise the money, find the money, get the money. But then in the meantime, you still got 7 more trucks that you need. So when you think about the process of that, the same thing when it comes to the, you know, working the street department, you know, for their equipment and their new equipment that they need, you know, how long does it take for you to actually, and I think the general public does not truly understand that process of how long it actually takes for things to happen in our city. You know, we want it to happen, but we don't know the actual time, you know, that it takes for those things. Same thing with getting new vehicles, new fleets, you know, when you get new fleets for our police department, you know, how long is that going to take, you know, for us to get to it? So you got to understand that process, and that way it slows your frustration down. When you're saying, wow, things not moving like they need to, you know, for our community.
Some of these places can be worse than community watch groups. When you had all the persons to attend the community watch groups, and I know everybody may be saying I'm plugging the community watch groups, but when we have all the persons attend our community watch groups, we ask them, I send them out notices, I said, these are kind of the questions that are presented to me. When you come to the watch group next Thursday, these are questions I want you to be able to answer. It could be a
are moving. It might not be moving as fast as we wanted to, we all can agree to that. But we are doing some things, but it takes both of us, it takes all of us to work together, it takes all of us to be actively engaged. And so just like she said, if you wanna know, call us. If you wanna know, come to the meetings. If you can't come to the meetings, get on social media. Watch it later if you're at work. But to be informed, you need to be informed for yourself, not hearing that second hand from someone that's just going to tell you their version of what they heard at the meeting. You need to learn it for yourself.
The goal of what the committees are working to do, the first phase was to look at what we have, to gather data to see what are we doing, what does it look like, to look inside first. And so a lot of the things that you all are raising, issues of improved how we educate the public, finding better ways to get out usable information. As they gather data, and this is data gathering, they're going to be putting together recommendations based on a lot of data that they gathered. Street lighting was one that came out during the ward meetings before the mayor took office. Community having better communication with the police department, like continuing things or coffee with the mayor. GVI strategies being leveraged using successful strategies that are already in place. How do we reduce the negative branding? Well, better communication, providing successes, telling what we are doing well. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening and I'm writing all of this down. And I see most of the data that every committee is doing. They're doing some deep dives and they're asking everything you can think of. I think Ms. Howell said, helping our citizens normalize expectations. I'll give an example. In 2022, during the Biden administration, they passed an infrastructure bill. There were 7 cities in this area got a total of $96 million, and Pine Bluff was awarded $32 million. Is that correct? It was not until 2024 that they got through the first phase. Now, this money was going to be used for ditches and draining, $32 million. 2022, 2024, and then it was just this year in February where our street department went to look at phase 2 to pick out an engineer. It's federal dollars, but when they went to Little Rock looking at phase 2 of looking at selecting the engineers, phase 2. And then recently when Trump got in office, they stopped everything. It's on hold. So expectations, engaging our citizens better, that means that we need to have a better citizen engagement strategy. So the first work plan was to gather the data, to look and see what do we have, what resources we have, like Ms. Frazier talked about. A lot of things are going on, but we don't know where they are. We will after this. Then the second phase was to look at other cities, like Ms. Howe talked about, Conway. They have a list of comparable cities that they're looking at to see what is someone else doing that we can maybe look at and improve on. So it was phase 2. Now they're in phase 3, asking what do the citizens want? What are the citizens saying? What are the citizens needing? What are the citizens concerned about? So once these are put together and they provide those recommendations, they will be used to inform the development of policy. Ms. Hogan gave me tonight, is it Ms. Hogan? Gave us the ordinance that requires a 5-year plan. We have that. There will be a 5-year plan. And finally, I'll close with this. Ms. Howell talked about continuity. We've lost a lot of ground sometimes because we don't keep up with good continuity of what has already been done and the protocols that are in the office. So as we are going in, we are literally auditing everything for protocols and for growth and retention plans. It's in the data. As the police department and the fire department, they recognize and we're looking for ways how to retain and how to pay people better. So I'm hearing all of this and I'm writing it down, and I wanted to clarify what the process is, because there's a lot of data that's been gathered that's going to have to be synthesized and put into recommendations that are going to address some of the very issues that you have raised. Amen? I'm preaching. Amen? Amen.
One thing too about people knowing. I have been in the public policy, public affairs, civic arena for 30 years or so. And I don't care if you're talking about city council meetings, people voting, people are just not gonna come out. Because what I've learned is in general, people feel like, you know what, I gotta go to work, I gotta raise these kids, gotta get ready in the morning, gotta cook, I gotta get this, right? And if nothing's wrong, why I gotta come out too to help you do your job? That's pretty much the way people think. And people feel good about the information being there. They may not have time to or want to ram down their throat to feel like they have to have a second and third and fourth job. But if they want to see progress, if there's something wrong, and they need to show up to help fix it, they will. This room was packed when we announced that we were putting these committees together. It was packed. And we have more than 10 people on every one of those committees. People show up. People are already working on their recommendations. And again, I say this and I'm not saying it in jest, and nobody is doing this for pay. They want to see their communities do better. Ms. Brown is diligent about these neighborhood watch meetings, and she runs it like she earns an annual salary and has benefits, because she's serious about it. But I'm saying all this to say, I believe, and I have a little bit of a different take, I believe that it is our job to go where the people are, to make the information available, even if they don't show up. When they do, and say, hey, where's this budget? Online, let me see what you're doing. Where's this proposal? Where's this plan? Hold on just a second. Here's a copy, and let me see the link. Can you please share it with your group? That's how we have to approach this. So when we talk about transparency and accountability, it is the job of city government throughout. The mayor's office, the police department, the fire department, the street department, everybody. Our budgets need to be available. Our processes, our minutes, videos that we take need to be online. So if people who are uninformed, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, want the information, it's there. Because it's their information. It's their tax dollars paying to make it exist. So I think that, yes, we want to see more engagement, but it's up to us. Because people also, there are a lot of people who are hopeful, and there are a lot of people who are like, this ain't gonna work. It's gonna be another meeting, another plan. I met with an incredible person who gives back, doesn't live here anymore, extremely successful, just Sunday night, who talked about having given in the past and not seeing where those dollars are gone. Transparency and accountability. When we set a new standard for what that looks like, people will have faith. People will be more engaged. 2 new fire trucks, chief. We're gonna get the equipment, we're gonna get all the rest of those cameras, Chief Richardson. It'll be a different conversation. Mr. Dockett, Director Dockett's not here with the street department. We need equipment. But people need to know what kind of debt we're in. I came into office, I didn't know what kind of debt we're in. We entered into 8 new contracts or lease agreements last year. After tax and increase salaries based on that, which is why it's so critically important for us to do things that's going to help us grow our economy. When we grow our economy, we won't have to beg anybody to place a grocery store on the east side. See, when we talk about, I gotta stand up for this. When we talk about changing our mentality, when we talk about changing our rhetoric as a city, it cannot be about charity. People are not, if we keep talking about charity and donating, that's what we're gonna get. And we know when we ask, usually, not in this case, usually when we ask people to show up and stuff for free, most people aren't gonna show up. And if they do, they're not gonna show up on time. If they show up on time, they're gonna follow through the way they said they were to. It's human nature, that's just the way it goes. You have a group of people, a committee, usually, about a third of them are gonna show up and do what they say they're gonna do. That's how it's been since anybody's been done group projects in school. That's just how it goes, right? But when we talk about investment instead of charity, when we talk about how we're gonna use our own assets, and we're not looking for anybody to come save us and go back to the way things used to be, we can do better than the way things used to be. We have the assets to make it happen. And if we get out of our own head with all the negativity and the blight and recognize that we are not the only ones dealing with blight. We are not the only ones dealing with workforce issues or crime. And guess what? Crime is worse than several other cities in this state. So when we're not telling our own story and challenging these ridiculous lists that we've been on, that are still on the internet, and we don't have a communications manager. We're about to, though. We're about to have a communications director. We're about to have a constituency services director. Those, because it takes work. Stuff doesn't just appear. And we've got to stop leaving the important work that needs to be done for one person to do 2 and 3 different jobs and expect that that job's going to get done well. So let's move into a perspective of investment. When we talk about people coming here and say, hey, let me show you where there could be some investment, then there's a conversation about what? Return on investment. Now that person's really listening. That person looking to make a profit off their investment. Whether it's 5 years or 10 years, it's a return on investment, not tithing city government to save the community. There is a place for charity. There's a place for our faith community, and there's a place for development. And when we're talking about development, it takes investment, investment, investment.
I'm gonna have one more call for any questions, because we're about getting ready to shut this down, so if you got anything, now's the time.
And while I'm walking back, there are several questions that are addressed online to the live stream, but they aren't under the public safety realm. They are addressing trash and a couple other things.
I know the guys in the blues can attest to this here. I'm hoping that in the future that we can deal with the drug use and alcohol use as more in the city, because a lot of the crime is being committed, it's on drugs. There was a time when in our city we had a facility where, as we could go and get some, that people get off the street. I don't know if there's a facility here in our town, in our city now. Because if someone came to me and said, hey, I need some help, we have to call one, and this is for 5,000 and one, and for they have facilities, they get you off the street, or you have to call the other off the street. When we know, and I think these guys here in the case that they're dealing with a lot of times,
Anybody else?
I'm Kelvin Hadley, I'm the assistant chief of police, Pine Bluff. I sat back and I watched and listened to a lot of the questions that you all had, but I do want to just make a statement. You all came in here and you all see that there are a lot of police officers in this room. They are here because they wanted to be here. Chief Richardson did not ask nobody to come here. They're here in support of Chief Denise Richardson. Now, I want to say this. It's sad when you have to hear small business owners and other elected officials go on the radio and you demote the city of Pine Bluff and you're attacking the Pine Bluff Police Department because of something that you were not satisfied with. Somebody said something earlier, promote Pine Bluff, because there are a lot of things that we do well. You talk about the negative part when you say you turn on the TV and all you hear about is crime in the city of Pine Bluff. But what about that we haven't had a juvenile homicide in over 400 something days? What about last year that homicides were cut in half from the previous year before? The young lady said something earlier about we're about to be accredited for accreditation number 1 that has never been done in the history of Pine Bluff. All of this was done under Chief Richardson's administration. All we're asking you to do, like the young brother that said, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. We're not looking for change. All we're asking for is for the community to be patient with us and allow us to do our job, and we will continue to provide the best possible service for the city of Pine Bluff.
All right. Yeah.
The gentleman said something about what we're going to do about people that's going through addictions. And this is a very sensitive issue for me because I come from a family where my mother and father had alcoholic issues. I come from uncles and aunties that had drug addiction issues. And I understand where he's coming from because that's half of the problem why some people can't even get employment here. My question though is, how can we help them? And when he talked about a facility, I agree with him, we need a facility. But twice someone tried to put a facility here in Pine Bluff, and twice it was denied. So my question is, if we want to help them, how are we going to help them? Where can we put a facility? Because we need to put a facility somewhere in order to help the people in our city. So I just want y'all to think about that because I have to put that
just want to thank Mayor Flowers and her staff for all the help they've given us to put together the information we have. Guys, we probably have this much information, stacks of paper, and they've done a great job of getting that to us. Chief Richardson, Chief Howe, all you guys, we appreciate everything everybody's done to help us to evaluate this. We're not trying to change the world up here. But what the mayor asked us to do is come up with 4 or 5 ideas that might help things down the road. And that's our goal. We're not trying to, like I said, take anything away or change anything drastically. We're just trying to help to move things forward, which I'm convinced this mayor wants to make happen. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, if there's not anything else, maybe did you need anything else? Okay.
I think that since I made opening remarks, we had a couple of elected officials come in, and I want to make sure that they were recognized. Councilwoman Lynette Frazier, it was about 5 or 6 times, but and then our stealth Councilman William Bell is also here. Please stand up, please. Thank you. And then also, we have talked a lot about the need for partnership and the importance of our community-based organizations and community leaders. And oftentimes in Pine that's in the form of our Divine Nine organizations. And tonight we have a beautiful representation of women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the alumni chapter. If you all would stand, please. Some left early. Social action is an incredible, important, an incredible part of the work that that organization does. My organization too, for the community. And if there are any other civic organizations or Divine Nine organizations represented here tonight? Okay. Well, we know though that that's incredibly important, and I did not want to leave without making that recognition. Thank you.
I'm going to say this because GBI was mentioned a couple of times. For those of you that do not know, it's gun violence intervention, and I'm definitely not the expert, but it's basically where the different entities of the city can come together. And talking with Judge Ernest Brown, he contributes that to the drop in the homicides that we've had for the juvenile homicides that Assistant Chief Hadley spoke about. People working together, and that is one thing that I'll tell you this, that our committee is working on, is try to add on to that, and so we can make some more changes that are needed. Nobody else has got anything else?